Circa Survive is one of the most influential post-hardcore bands, and I feel like if you're in that scene and you've never heard of them, you've been living under a rock. Hi, my name is Fox McFly, the guy with low no standards, and I let my coworker blindly pick which band we talk about each week, and this week she chose Circa Survive over Moving Mountains for the reason that she doesn't like mountains, so fair enough. I do have some bias towards this band that I'll get to in a moment, but the first thing we gotta do is we gotta start farming, and we'll talk. But this is the TLDR Music Monday, so just getting my personal bias out of the way, I did date Anthony's niece for 3 years throughout my high school and freshman year of college, so I was fortunate enough to see Circa a good amount of times, and I was fortunate enough to meet and hang out with Anthony a handful of times. So if you're wondering if he's a good guy, the answer is yes, he is a fantastic guy. Once he found out that I played guitar, he made it a point that I got to meet Brandon and Colin from the band and maybe talk gear or just to hang out in general, so he made it an active point that I got to meet some of their guitar players. Also, whenever we would go see them, my girlfriend at the time would text and be like, hey, we're here at the show, and he would make an active attempt to get us backstage and hang out or talk after the show. There's even one time one of the security guards didn't want to let us back, and he came out and he was just like, hey, that's my family and her boyfriend and everything. So he always made it an active point to try and talk to us. So in my opinion, that kind of boosts my bias towards them. Even though her and our relationship didn't end in the best terms, I still love the band. These robots are being fucking dicks tonight. Their first album came out in 2005 and it's titled Juturna. Juturna would be a good starting point to just get a vibe of their sound. They have this thing where no one part of the band should overpower the other. It should come at you all as one sound, and that's something that Circa does very well. They have clashing guitar harmonies, they have crunchy basses, they have groovy drums, and then Anthony's voice just soars over everything. I don't know how to describe the album other than, Anthony was in Seosin. From Seosin, he went and made Circa Survive, so you're gonna have that raw post-hardcore like core, but you're gonna have something that's completely different, something that's completely I would say almost ethereal. You're not going to hear anything like it, and this is what the album art looks like. So you may have seen this around as their profile picture. I've seen tattoos of it. These are 3 songs. If I had to narrow it down, I would pick, but it's so hard because this album, down to every last song, every last second, the whole album is perfect. 2 years later, they put out an album called On Letting Go, and we're kind of in if you watched the Death Cab TLDR last week, we're kind of in a situation where at any given day of the week, one of these 2 albums could be considered their masterpiece, and on any given day of the week, I would say that one of these 2 could be my favorite albums by them. So everything that Juturna did well, On Letting Go takes it and they make it more refined. And what I mean by refined is, being a 2005 album that Juturna was, the audio quality was kind of rough. It's not the best. It's still really good audio quality, but it's not the most well-polished sounding album. And On Letting Go takes that and they actually polish that out. So these albums could be very similar. Oh, almost got me, you little sneaky sneak. They polish the audio quality while still maintaining their Circa sound. You still have the clashing guitar harmonies, and again, this album is perfect down to the very last song, very last second, every moment of this album. And these are 3 songs that I would recommend off this album. I'm going to try and pick songs that aren't the most well-known. So going from there, their next album, Blue Sky Noise, very solid album. You still have Circa parts, but the only thing about this album is they signed to Atlantic Records. So that thought process that Circa had, where everything, sound-wise, vocals, guitar, drums, everything should come at the same level. It should hit you at the same time. That ideology that they had, because of Atlantic Records, I feel they threw it out the window. They took that Circa ideology and I feel like they over-processed Anthony's voice, and then they dipped the guitar parts and bass parts and drums. You can still hear them, but it doesn't hit you as hard as the first 2 albums, because I feel a lot of the cool guitar parts get lost, and I feel like it doesn't have that same drive that the other ones do. But it's still a phenomenal album, and it's still one that I'm going to listen to it all the way through. It's almost a perfect album. It's just that slight audio change. I feel like the vocals were just too overproduced, and it kind of went against everything that Circa was for. These are 3 songs that I would recommend off of Blue Sky Noise. Now watch this drive. Alright, just killing time till the next run. Talk about the next album. Their next album, Violent Waves. It's kind of a little over the place. Violent Waves kind of takes some elements from On Letting Go, and they mix it with some Blue Sky Sky Noise. So it's a very unique album. One of the best Circa songs, in my opinion, is off this album. It's The Birth of an Economic Hitman. If you had to pick one song to tell you who Circa was, I would pick Birth of an Economic Hitman. They have guitar parts that sound like whales, okay? And the build-up, everything about this song is just peak Circa Survive. It's like everything, all of their sounds in one song, and it hits so hard. Violent Waves is a roller coaster because you're having like these blending elements of some of their early work with some of their last release, and so it's kind of like a violent wave. These are 3 songs I would pick off of that album to listen to. Alright, so going from Violent Waves, their next album, and I hope I'm saying this right, is Descensus. Descensus is their most aggressive album. It's not metal aggressive, but it has an aggressive vibe to it. It's almost like they had a vendetta against something, man, because it's like the clashing harmonies are back in full force. Nothing is overpowering the other, and the audio quality is just so crisp. This would probably be in the run of my top 3 favorite Circa albums, just because of how much more aggressive while still keeping that Circa sound it has. I would throw it in the running as any day of the week. Juturna, On Letting Go, or Descensus could be considered my favorite Circa album. It's so different. These are 3 songs I would recommend off of it before I get carried away and forget. Out of the Desert has like some of the coolest guitar parts I've ever heard. So the next album is called The Amulet. It's kind of in the same vein as Descensus. It's basically if you took like Descensus and just like the slower songs, that's The Amulet. I would have liked them to kind of either go lean more and towards that like more aggressive, or maybe go back to like some of their older stuff, but they pretty much just took Descensus and chilled it out. It's not really a too big of a standout album. These would be 3 songs I would recommend off The Amulet. But their last album that came out before they went on hiatus, it was originally supposed to be 2 separate EPs, and I had the hardest time deciding on if I wanted to group this with their other works because of what it was intended to be. So I'm kind of gonna just breeze through this one. It's not my favorite album. It's very slow. They add more electronic elements into it, so I don't know if I should classify this as an album, even though technically it is. These are 3 songs off of 2 Dreams that I would probably sit at a campfire and listen to someone play acoustic guitar. But yeah, definitely check out Circa. Let me know what your favorite album is in the comments. I love you sons of bitches. Have a good one.